Hey everyone, how's it going? Thanks so much for tuning in. For today's video, we're going to be taking an in-depth look at the McLaren 720S. In this review, I'm going to start it up, show the engine, get an exhaust clip, and go over the performance data. I'll also take it for a thorough drive and show you many of the unique aspects throughout the interior as well as exterior. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start her up and let her run. A huge thanks to McLaren Philadelphia for providing this example today. For more information about the dealership, including contact info and current inventory, please feel free to check out their website provided in the description box below. All you have to do is make sure you have the key fob within the interior, then put your foot on the brake and hit the console mounted button to go. The 720S is the direct replacement for the 650S, spearheading the introduction of McLaren's second-generation Super Series. It's lighter, faster, and more dynamically capable than its predecessor, but it's also significantly more refined. This is the first time that McLaren has replaced a product line, and they've done it in a big way. For starters, the 720S is formed around an all-new carbon fiber chassis, referred to as the Monocage 2. Previously, the Super Series used what was referred to as the monocell, which was, for all intensive purposes, a carbon fiber tub. The Monocage 2 combines a tub and roof structure. This creates an inherently strong, stiff, and safe passenger cell. Also, by having lower side sills and wider door apertures, the Monocage 2 is better optimized for everyday usability. The 720S has a class-leading dry weight of 2,828 pounds, about 40 pounds less than a comparable 650S. The chassis has a lot to do with this, but weight was also shaved from the electrical system, braking system, structural air boxes, and the suspension, helping lower the car's center of gravity by 3%. The styling is simply stunning. Every inch of the aluminum and composite panels are designed around very specific aerodynamic principles and cooling targets. McLaren describes the bodywork as being shrink-wrapped around the chassis, giving it a lean and muscular appearance. The distinct teardrop shape came from redesign in the greenhouse. The A-pillars are slimmer, the B-pillars sit rearward, and there's glazed C-pillars. The Gorilla Glass roof panels are optional. The aggressively contoured front bumper features gaping air intakes across the bottom and adaptive LED headlamps that reside within eye sockets that incorporate an air duct to channel air to the low-temperature radiators. The unit is divided into two portions by sequential indicators that sweep across the thin LED light strip. The hood vents help bleed off excess air to prevent positive pressure buildup near the windshield. With the mirrors being positioned on the outer sections of the doors, air can flow uninterrupted from the A-pillars into deep channels in the upper door panels that feed the high-temperature radiators, unlike the 650S, which had large side intakes. Openings behind the distinctive side blades help remove turbulent air from the front wheel arches to create extra downforce. Additional cooling vents across the sides can be found just ahead of the rear wheels. The rear of the 720S is about 5.7 inches lower compared to a 650S, helping not only with aerodynamics but rearward visibility and interior storage. Out back, there's a new rear wing that delivers up to 30% more downforce and, when deployed, helps direct even more air to the engine intakes and top of the rear fenders. It works in harmony with the flat underbody, air guides, and prominent rear diffuser to further optimize downforce. When you press the arrow button in the center stack, the wing will deploy between 70 and 80%, depending on speed to provide the right amount of downforce needed when cornering. When accelerating in a straight line and up to the car's top speed, a drag reduction system activates, which drops wing deployment down to 30%. Lastly, to improve braking stability and overall braking distances when you need to scrub a lot of speed quickly, the wing can be deployed fully in less than half a second to serve as an air brake that could shift the aero balance to the rear by 20%. The 720S is available in three grades: Standard, Luxury, and Performance. Pricing begins at $288,845, including transportation and port processing charges. Pricing for this example, a well-equipped 720S Performance, comes in at $332,165. I've listed all the options shown here in the description box below. The 720S is fitted with 19 by 9-inch wheels in front and 20 by 11-inch wheels in the rear. There's a few different styles available, including lightweight and super lightweight forged options that can reduce unsprung weight by as much as 28 pounds. The tires were specifically developed for this car in collaboration with Pirelli, 245/35s in front and 305/30s in the rear. They deliver excellent feedback and tons of grip. The front tires are 10mm wider than what you'd find on a 650S. For even more grip, especially on the track, P0 Corsa tires are optional. The 720S benefits from a new braking system that features standard carbon ceramic discs and larger yet stiffer calipers that can bring the car to a stop from 62 miles an hour in just 97.4 feet. In fact, it takes about 383 feet to stop from 124 miles per hour. That's about 20 feet shorter than a 650S and nearly on par with the P1. The discs have a diameter of 15.3 inches in front and 15 inches in the rear, with 6-piston and 4-piston calipers respectively. They're cross-drilled and internally ventilated to promote cooling in conjunction with dedicated cooling channels in the front fascia, side skirts, and underbody. The steering retains electro-hydraulic assistance, but it's faster reacting than a 650S. Engineers favored the enhanced clarity of feel that this system offers in comparison to electric power assistance. The steering uses one software map that's highly responsive and predictive. It gets even better as you firm up the dampers. When it comes to the suspension and overall chassis design, the 720S delivers greater comfort and a wider range of abilities than any other Super Series before it. Low weight and great balance makes this car an absolute joy to drive through winding roads. A lot of the improvements came from a re-engineered double wishbone suspension that benefits from updated geometry and a 35-pound drop in unsprung weight. To cap it all off, the 720S also features a new version of McLaren's proactive chassis control system. Like before, there's hydraulically interlinked dampers at each corner that eliminate the need for anti-roll bars. This alone does wonders for low-speed driving comfort. The biggest difference lies in the control strategy, which enables reaction times of just 2 milliseconds. Pressing the button labeled Active to the left of the infotainment system unlocks the ability to alter handling and powertrain behavior via 3 modes: Comfort, Sport, and Track. Lots of things are routed through here, such as the dampers, engine, and transmission. By independently controlling the chassis and powertrain, you can really dial in the car's behavior to suit your driving style. For example, if you wanted the softest dampers but the more aggressive shift strategy, all you have to do is twist the dials accordingly. There's also buttons that allow you to alter the stability control and switch between automatic and manual shifting. One new feature that I find particularly fascinating is variable drift control. It activates when the stability control system is switched to dynamic and the active dynamics panel is set to either sport or track. It allows the driver to set their own drift angle. This way, the car will predictably oversteer to a predetermined angle before the car begins to rope you back in place. Motivating the 720S is an all-new mid-mounted 4-liter twin-turbocharged V8, otherwise known as the M840T. It develops 710 horsepower at 7,000 RPM and 568 pound-feet of torque between 5,500 and 6,500 RPM. That's an increase of 69 horsepower and 68 pound-feet of torque over the 650S, leading to a segment-best power-to-weight ratio. Key stats include a 0 to 60 time of 2.8 seconds, a standing quarter-mile time of 10.3 seconds, and a top speed of 212 miles per hour. This makes it quicker and faster than both the Ferrari 488 GTB and the Lamborghini Huracan. Performance is one thing, but the 720S also boasts improved fuel economy and reduced CO2 emissions over the 650S. The M840T contains 41% new or significantly upgraded components versus the M838T used in the first generation Super Series. There's lighter pistons and connecting rods, new twin-scroll turbochargers with low inertia titanium and alloy turbines, new intercoolers, shortened intake runners, and a lighter yet stronger crankshaft. The bore is unchanged, but the piston stroke increases by 3.6 millimeters, leading to a 195cc increase in displacement. A new port fuel injection system doubles the number of injectors from 8 to 16 in order to improve fuel nebulization, combustion, and emissions. The wastegates and dump valves are now controlled by a new engine calibration strategy to actively manage the buildup of power and torque at low RPMs for better throttle response and efficiency. The engine resides underneath a fixed cover with plenty of mesh vents and open sections at the tail end to facilitate heat extraction. The vents also give you a peek at the new cast aluminum intake plenum. The engine is constructed using aluminum for the block and heads and features dual overhead cams, 4 valves per cylinder, variable intake and exhaust valve timing, and dry sump lubrication. Power is sent to the rear wheels through an updated version of McLaren's Seamless Shift Gearbox, or SSG, that not only delivers faster and sharper shifts than before, but it feels more refined at lower speeds. It's a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission that's operated by a button panel in the center console. SSG can be driven automatically or manually by a set of rocker-type paddle shifters on the back of the steering wheel. Upshifts sound off like the crack of a whip thanks to McLaren's ignition cut technology. Under full throttle, you can rev the 720S all the way to 8,100 RPM in first gear and 8,200 RPM from second to fifth. Maximum engine speed is 8,500 RPM. Launch control is, of course, standard. Throttle response is immediate and progressive, almost as if it were naturally aspirated. Adding to the experience is a sonorous exhaust system that's clean, crisp, and full of personality. While notably louder than the 650S, an optional sports exhaust system takes it up to 11, with a unique tailpipe design and an even more emotive soundtrack than the example shown here. Like other McLarens, the 720S forgoes a traditional limited slip differential by opting for an open differential and a system known as brake steer. By selectively braking the rear wheels, it helps mitigate understeer to ensure that power is always going to the wheel with the most traction, all while saving weight and reducing component complexity. At this time, the 720S has not been rated by the EPA. An auto start-stop system is standard. In order to make the 720S a more livable car, McLaren redesigned the dihedral doors and side sills. The new doors have an 80-degree angle of opening and require about 6 fewer inches of space per side to increase accessibility when parked in tight spaces. The doors open forward and upward just like before, but they now incorporate a portion of the roofline that frees up headroom when climbing in and out. The lower sills drop down more towards the front, similar to the monocell 2 chassis used on the 570, so it's less of a challenge to get your legs in. Like any McLaren, the interior is focused around the driver. The 720S features an all-new interior that's sophisticated, luxurious, and modern. The quality of materials and detailing are far superior to the 650S. Climb in and you'll immediately notice a greater perception of space. The layout is cleaner and simpler with a center stack that now tilts towards the driver so everything you need is right at your fingertips. Without comparing the raw specs, the 720S feels roomier than the 488 GTB and the Huracan. There's plenty of space for 2 people, but there's also class-leading cargo space behind the seats, 7.4 cubic feet to be exact. That's more than what you would get in the front compartment. Additional storage and cup holders can be found across the center console. The front portion is a floating design, again emphasizing space and openness. In performance trim, premium-grade leather is used throughout, along with soft Alcantara accents, zircon silver, and brushed iridium brightwork and satin-finished carbon fiber trim. Additional carbon composites are available as well, including but not limited to the side sills, air vents, and gear shift paddles. Many of the switches and controls are machined from solid aluminum, which are not only more visually appealing than what was used in the 650S, but they provide a more tactile and satisfying feel. The standard seats are power adjusting with heat and memory presets for the driver and passenger. They're surprisingly comfortable and offer plenty of lateral support for spirited driving. An electric adjusting steering column is optional. Lightweight one-piece carbon fiber racing seats are also available that offer manual fore and aft adjustments and holes to insert racing harnesses. Depending on your body type, the racing seats can be had in 2 different sizes, either regular or touring. Regardless of the seat style, the driving position is spot on with segment leading forward and over-the-shoulder visibility. In addition to the expected suite of comfort and convenience goodies, the 720S is available with parking sensors, a reversing camera, or a 360-degree camera system. As far as safety, there's 6 airbags including 2 front, 2 side, and 2 knee airbags. Each door also has a manual release lever. Now let's go ahead and see if she sounds. My favorite piece of tech is the new folding driver display. In full display mode, there's 3 different layouts depending on which drive mode you have the car set to, with a complete array of expected information. On the flip side, slim display mode shows only the minimum, such as speed and engine RPM, improving forward visibility and minimizing distractions by a big margin. I've never seen anything like it, and it's endlessly entertaining. The 720S also debuts a new infotainment system developed in conjunction with JVC Kenwood. It builds upon its predecessor's vertical orientation and simplistic layout with crisp, high-res graphics and an improved user interface that offers smartphone-like functionality. Through the 8-inch touchscreen display, you can access things like audio, media, telephone or navigation, to the climate control system and more. Beneath the screen are several dedicated shortcut buttons. To make them easier to access on demand, the climate control functions are permanently visible across the bottom of the screen. There's 2 audio systems available, including a standard 4-speaker setup and R-Tester's optional 12-speaker 1280-watt Bowers & Wilkins surround sound system. If track days will be a routine venture, you're definitely going to want to spring for the track telemetry system, as it now measures throttle angle and lateral and longitudinal G-force, in addition to timing and speed management. Using the infotainment system, you can set up a track session, complete the laps, and immediately analyze the data, including sector times within a lap. When the full driver display is up, you can view summary telemetry and live timing data to aid track performance by placing data directly in your field of vision. On top of that, you can opt for 3 track telemetry cameras that can be used to record lap times from within the cabin. All of the data and video can be downloaded to an external device for detailed review later on. When you consider all of the storage space in the 720S, you realize that it's actually fairly practical, or at least practical as far as a supercar is concerned. I touched on earlier how there's 7.4 cubic feet worth behind the seats, but up front you have 5.3 cubic feet, for a total of 12.7, which is practically unheard of in this segment. Also up front you have easy access to some of your fluid reservoirs, a power outlet, LED illumination, roadside assistance kit, fire extinguisher, and a storage net off to the left. Well everyone, I hope you enjoyed the in-depth look at the McLaren 720S. Be sure to stay tuned next time, leave a like and subscribe today, there's always a lot more where that came from. Take care everyone.